Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jonathan Cohn, and today I have 4 news stories covering book releases that I thought I would share on the channel. All of these broke relatively within the last week, I would say, and these are 4 news stories that I really connect with. I know that there's like hundreds of news sources, news stories with fantasy, sci-fi, tie-in fiction that come out all the time, but these are the ones that I think I connect with and that my audience will connect with most. So, I'm covering everything from a Star Wars book release, a Brandon Sanderson cover art reveal, a Star Trek book release, and a Timothy Zahn cover reveal for one of his sci-fi books. So I think it's got a lot of great stories here to talk about. And why don't we start with the first one, which is the Star Wars book story. In the first piece of news that I have, we have a brand new Star Wars young adult novel coming from E.K. Johnston coming this October. The book is titled Crimson Climb and is about the character of Kira from Solo, a Star Wars story. The cover image looks like this, and it's a pretty standard cover for a Star Wars YA novel, so it's pretty standard. I am a big fan of the character of Kira. I love Emilia Clarke. I want to put her in every movie and show. I just think she's a delightful actress, and I always enjoy every performance she gives. And I thought she was wonderful in Solo. She and Alden Ehrenreich were so underrated with that movie. But we haven't gotten too many Kira stories. We got one comic series with Kira recently, but I don't really read comics. And then we did get one novel back when Solo was released with her and Han Solo called Most Wanted, which didn't get a huge amount of traction in fandom because Solo didn't really do so well. So I'm hoping that this one will be a good book, and B, will connect with fans so that they might want to put the character in more properties. As for E.K. Johnston, I must say I am very mixed about my feelings about her writing this book. E.K. Johnston has written 4 Star Wars novels thus far and some short stories, and so far when it comes to novels, she is 1 for 4 in my opinion. I thought that she delivered one of the best, if not the best, YA novel with Ahsoka. Partially she had some help with Dave Filoni, who eventually overrode part of the script, but she had some help from him, and it was just a fantastic book. I loved it cover to cover. Like, it was, I read it in one day. It was an amazing novel. So I thought that this book was amazing, and so I was so excited when we were getting more books. And then we got her Queen's trilogy, her Queen's Shadow trilogy. And we got Queen's Shadow, which I thought there were elements I liked about it, but overall didn't love it. Then we had Queen's Hope, which overall I thought was pretty boring. Queen's Peril, which I thought was pretty boring, and Queen's Hope, which I just really didn't like. There were so many things in it about the whole trilogy design, the trilogy design, the pacing, the character writing, the world building, the writing style. This trilogy is much more an E.K. Johnston trilogy than Ahsoka is. I think Ahsoka doesn't feel like a book that she would write, but this trilogy does. So I really didn't like that about it. So I'm really apprehensive about E.K. Johnston being the author. That being said, any author could write an amazing Star Wars book if they had the opportunity and the right style. So if she writes an amazing Kira book, I will be so excited. So that's our first story of the day. Let me know your thoughts on that down below. We also have a cover reveal for Tor's edition of Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, which is coming on April 4th of 2023. This is a bit different than the original cover for the Kickstarter. The original cover looks like this, and the new cover looks like this. And honestly, if I had to pick one, I would prefer the original. I think the original just looks like a more interesting style, but I'm going to buy the Tor edition for a couple of reasons. One, the original cover, hardcover, is just crazy expensive. And also, I wasn't able to fully get in on the Kickstarter. The other reason is, I know Brandon Sanderson did this whole thing as to be a lifeline for, in case the publishers or the, big distributors cancel him. I really like Tor. I want to keep supporting Tor and the big publishers and the small publishers too. But I want to keep traditional publishing alive because I really think it's needed to keep it alive. So that I'll be buying that edition, the hardcover edition from Tor, when it comes out in April of 2023. Which cover do you prefer? Which edition are you buying? Or if you've already bought it, what did you think? Let me know those thoughts in the comments section down below. Next, my third piece of news is a science fiction book series by Timothy Zahn. And you might remember that I broke the news that Timothy Zahn was doing new books for Baen Books based off of his Icarus Hunt series. And we now have more news regarding that, specifically regarding the Icarus twins cover art. Now, the cover art looks like this. I'll put it on the screen. You kind of have a ship on the top, and then you kind of have the planet below, and you have some kind of weird floating something or other. It almost looks like BB-8, but dead and giant. Anyway, we have this cover art, which just really is striking and captivating. And I'm really excited to have this kind of cover art. For comparison's sake, I have the original paperback of the Icarus Hunt, which had this kind of cover art, classic style. And then the Icarus Plot had this kind of cover art, and its hardcover, which was a very different style. I understand why they went with it, and I actually think it still worked for the novel, but the inconsistency in design is a little frustrating. That being said, it's the same cover artist who did the Icarus Plot who will now be doing the Icarus Twin, and I think that moving towards the classic sci-fi feel is the better choice to try to get more audience. I think this book cover design was not going to get the audience in there, but I think this new cover design will. Now, we don't have the actual, they haven't done the lettering yet. They haven't done all the text and what they're going to put in the cover outside the painting, but the painting itself is done, and I'm really excited about it. So I really like it. I am really excited for this book. From my sources at Baen, they have told us that the book is scheduled for release in December. We do not have any links on Amazon, and we also do not have any solid release date of a specific date, but they plan on December. And since they've contracted for multiple books and he's writing multiple books, I have a feeling they're going to stick with the date, because Baen usually is pretty good about that. So, in my final piece of news, we have a Star Trek cover art for the new Star Trek Discovery novel by Dayton Ward. The novel is titled Somewhere to Belong, and the cover art looks like this. The book is set to be released on May 30th of 2023. Now, I will be the first to admit I am not a fan of Discovery. I watched the entire first season and just could not get into the series. It just wasn't for me. The style, the characters, the way they were unfolding the story. I liked the idea that we had an ongoing story, whereas Voyager and DS9 and Next Generation felt like it was just an episode would happen and then nothing would result from that episode. This series, it had an ongoing story, which I liked. I also liked that they brought in a Star Trek author to be involved, Kirsten Beyer. But there were too many things I didn't like, so I quit watching the series. But I do read every book that comes out now for Star Trek. I've made that decision to read every Star Trek adult novel that comes out, and some of the middle grades. And so I've actually quite enjoyed some of the Discovery books. I've read 2 Discovery books and have 2 more on my shelves. I read The Enterprise War by John Jackson Miller, which was a superb novel. And I don't remember too much from it, but the process of reading it was a lot of fun. And he was tapped to write the first Strange New Worlds novel, which comes out this February. And interestingly, I have to wonder if they kind of did this book as part of a feeler to see how the audience would react to an exclusive Pike series, an Enterprise series. And I am excited to eventually get into Strange New Worlds. I also read the Discovery novel Die Standing, which is just an amazing top 12 novel for me in Star Trek, possibly top 10. This follows Philippa Georgiou, the Empress Philippa Georgiou, after she loses her title of Empress and is now back in the Prime Universe. And it was just a ride and adventure fun book. And then I have 2 books to read from the series. David Mack's first book in the series, Desperate Hours, and Dayton Ward, who also is writing the new book, Drastic Measures. I'm excited to read all these, even though I don't care for the series itself. I am a Star Trek fan and will read Star Trek books. And I think that this might be fun, and I'm excited to jump back in. The cover art, there's nothing amazing. There's nothing terrible about it. It's not my style, but Whatever. Star Trek books style doesn't necessarily matter as much since they put out so many of them, or had in the past. Now they don't put out as many. But I'm glad we're getting this book. So those are the 4 news stories of the day that I wanted to talk about. If you are interested in any of these, let me know what you're interested in and what your thoughts on all these books and series are. And are you going to read any of these books, or are you like, I hate this author, I hate these books, I'm not reading them? Let me know all those thoughts in the comments down below. And until next time, I'm Jonathan, and thank you for watching.